Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today? I hope all of you have a very good day today. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to tell about my presentation. My name is Mizuka Audri Sifa, and I am a student at State University of Jakarta. The topic of my presentation is about the life cycle of a frog. The purpose of my presentation is to inform all of you about the different stages in a frog's life. My presentation will take about 5 to 10 minutes, and I have divided my talk into 4 points. Firstly, I would like to talk about the egg stage. Secondly is about the tadpole stage. The third is about the young frog stage. And finally, the fourth and last one is the adult frog stage. If you have any question, please address them at the end of my presentation. A frog's life cycle has 4 distinct stages. But what is a life cycle? A life cycle refers to the stages or changes that an animal goes through while it's alive. A life cycle repeats itself for each new generation of life. Animals such as frog go through a process called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a big word that means changing from one form into another. These animals look very different as babies than their parents do. Frogs are amphibians, which means that they can live in water or on land. They go through several stages of life before they become adult frogs, and during those stages they live only in water. Stage 1 is egg. Since frog is an oviparous, the life cycle starts as a fertilized egg. A female frog lays a lot of eggs at one time in water or a wet place. The eggs float on water in a jelly mass or cluster. The jelly functions as a protector against predator. The floating clump of eggs is called frog spawn. The egg will start developing where lines are clearly visible where cell division is occurring. After that, the development continues to the neural fold stage. The neural fold stage is where the start of the spinal cord and brain. And the eggs will hatch into tadpoles. Stage 2 is tadpole. When the tadpole hatches, they will wiggle their way out of their protective jelly balls and start developing tail fins. It looks more like a fish than a frog. It doesn't have any legs. It has gills that allow it to breathe underwater. External gills will be visible and will be covered in a flap of skin within 1 to 2 days. After the gills are no longer visible, the tadpoles will be able to swim actively and eat plants and algae from the water, and grows for several weeks. In a week, they will turn into a fully formed tadpoles, which length about 7 to 8 millimeters. After around 2 weeks, the tadpoles are around 17 to 20 millimeters long. And after 3 weeks, they will be more than 25 millimeters long. The tadpole also starts to grow to hind legs. Now it can leap around instead of only swimming. And after 1 month, the hind legs will keep growing rapidly, and their length will be over 30 millimeters. At 6 weeks old, the hind legs are starting to be used, while the front legs are starting to grow, but are still enclosed by the skin. During this time, the tadpole starts to develop lungs, so it will be able to breathe out of the water when it becomes a frog. Although the tadpole is starting to look a little more like a frog, it still has a very long tail. Stage 3 is young frog. The tadpole grows to front legs and its long tail becomes shorter and shorter. After the fully formed front legs break through the skin, and the tail will be resorbed because the tail contains nutrients as food for the frog. So, until its tail is completely gone, it doesn't need to anything else to eat. Then just a little stub of its tail is left, and the tadpole is a young frog. It hops right out of the water and onto dry land for the first time. So they may rest because there is a chance that they may drown. The frog is still very small. Stage 4 is adult frog. The frog's tail will eventually disappear completely, and it will start to eat insects instead of plants from the water. The lungs mature and frog can breathe through them. The frog now spends most of its time on land but swims sometimes too. The young frog will grow for about 2 to 4 years to become an adult. The adult frog then mate, lay their eggs, and more tadpoles hatch and begin the cycle again. To sum up, frogs typically live in water or on land during the different phases of their life cycles. A frog early development must take place in a moist environment because the jelly envelops surrounding. The developing embryo easily dries out. In the case of the frog, the fertilized eggs then develop into water-bound tadpoles. These swimming creatures are well adapted to their watery environment. They initially lack legs. They use gills to respire. And they are herbivores, eating the underwater flora available to them. However, as they transform into adults, their bodies prepare for a totally different lifestyle. Practically every organ of this animal transforms or metamorphoses, as the tadpole prepares for life as a land-dwelling, carnivorous frog. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question, feel free to ask me the question.